Have you ever noticed that when people talk about rifts, they almost always bring up kind of the same things? You know, giant robots, dragons, skull-faced coalition soldiers, maybe glitter boys. But I don't think any of those are what the reasons rifts became, well, rifts as we know it. Because if you strip all of that away, even if you took every piece of artwork out of the book and just looked at the rules, there is one idea that changed everything, one mechanic, and there's one paragraph and one number. And without it, Rifts probably would have just been another post-apocalyptic role-playing game that came and probably went. Instead, Kevin Siembieda introduced something that completely changed how you looked at combat and how you looked at weapons and armor and how you looked at your own character. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about mega damage, and not how it works, because you could read all about that, but why it really mattered. When you first read the Rift's core rulebook, mega damage almost sounds like another game mechanic. You read that 1 point of mega damage equals 100 points of structural damage. All right, got it. Turn the page, and then you stop and go, wait, what? But then you kind of just go, what? One shot, 1 point, 100 SDC, that's not a stronger, bigger rifle. That's a completely different scale. And I think that's part of what people kind of miss. Mega damage wasn't introduced so, he could make bigger numbers in the game. He introduced it because the world itself changed. According to the core rulebook, after the Great Cataclysm, mankind didn't just rediscover advanced technology. Magic returned. Alien materials appeared. New allies were created. Creatures from other dimensions walked the earth. Armor, vehicles, monsters, and weapons all existed on a level that ordinary materials simply just couldn't compete with. Steel wasn't enough. Concrete just didn't cut it. And neither was your body. The rules make it very clear that normal humans and ordinary STC objects simply could not withstand mega damage. Now think about what that does to the setting. Imagine you're a soldier standing behind a brick wall, okay? You're behind that brick wall. And in almost every RPG, that's different. That's cover, 50%, 75, 100 maybe. In Rifts, that wall might as well just be a piece of paper you're hiding behind. A laser blast doesn't chip away at it, he just removes it. A tank isn't just dangerous because it's a tank, and a dragon isn't scary because it has a lot of hit points. They're operating on an entirely different level than the average person. That's really an important distinction. Most role-playing games make enemies tougher by just giving them more health or, some really cool abilities. Rifts changed the conversation. It said, no, these things aren't just tougher, they're built on a different scale. And once you wrap your head around that, you start looking at the entire setting through a different lens. Like, here's the thing, mega damage just isn't combat change or change of combat. It changed who could even participate in the combat. Think about your average guy running there on the battlefield or running there in, your encounter. Maybe he's carrying a revolver around with him, got his gun. Yeah, cool. Maybe he's got a hunting rifle on his back. Maybe he's wearing a Kevlar vest if he's lucky he has one. Now imagine the Coalition Patrol rolls into town with their dead boy armor on. What kind of fight is that? Not a fair one. It's not really even a fight. Or maybe a young dragon lands in the middle of the street. Maybe it's a robot or a power armor squad. The ordinary weapons people have trusted for centuries suddenly just don't matter anymore. And that's exactly the point. The Rift setting was supposed to feel, I guess, like overwhelming. The world isn't dangerous because there are monsters. Fantasy games have always had monsters, sure. The world is dangerous because humanity suddenly finds itself sharing the planet with things operating on a completely different scale than they're used to. And that's why mega damage works so well as a storytelling device. It tells you, before the first shots is fired, who the major players on the field are. If you're wearing mega damage armor, people will notice. If you're carrying a mega damage weapon, people will notice. Now, if you're a juicer who somehow got his hands on Wilk's laser rifle, people are going to notice. You're no longer just another guy walking down the street. You've entered a completely different league. And I think that's one of Kevin's smartest design decisions. He didn't write 3 pages explaining that power armor was super terrifying. He really didn't have to. The rules already told you. The first time you realize your pistol literally cannot hurt the thing standing in front of you, you understood the setting instantly. No exposition required, and that's, I want to say, elegant game design. And it does something else that I don't think gets enough credit in these parts. It makes finding your first piece of mega damage equipment feel like a giant milestone. Think back to the first time you ever played the game, okay? Maybe it was, I don't know, a rifle, or maybe you found a suit of armor or something. Maybe it was climbing into a robot vehicle for the first time, whatever it was. You weren't just getting better gear, you were crossing over to a new level, a new line, a new stratosphere, so to speak. You had gone from surviving to the world to finally having a chance to stand up to things in the world. What I think is really interesting is mega damage wasn't just a combat mechanic, it became the language of the setting. You could pick up almost any Rift's world book, flip to a random page, and immediately understand where something fit into the world. A town made out of ordinary brick and wood? Well, that's gonna be, vulnerable. A fortress made out of mega damage materials? Now you're dealing with a major power. A mercenary company that's running around with mega damage armor? You don't treat them like bandits, you negotiate or you just get the heck out of there. The mechanic became world building, and I think that's pretty rare when it comes to game design. Most games separate the rules from the setting. Rifts just kind of, fused them or tied them together. One reinforced the other. Now, was mega damage controversial? Absolutely, I'm not going to deny that. People have argued about mega damage versus STC for decades. Some groups loved it, some house ruled it away by doing everything STC. I mean, others converted, things to have 2 different scales of damage, 1 scale of damage. If you're a Rifts player or a Palladium player, you've probably argued, played, tried multiple things. That's perfectly fine. Every gaming group finds what works for them. But whether you love mega damage or you despise it completely, I don't think you can argue that it wasn't memorable. 35 or something years later, people still bring it up. Not because they remember the exact rule, they remember because they remember how it made them feel. First time they realized that a pistol wasn't going to save them, the first time they climbed into that power armor, and the first time they watched a boom gum erase something from existence. Did I say gum? I meant to say gun. Those are moments, and that's why it's a great game mechanic to create. Not bigger numbers, it created memories, and that's why I think mega damage changed everything. Not because it made combat deadlier or robots tougher, or it instantly, I think what made it better was because it instantly communicated what the world of Rifts was like. A world where humanity wasn't at the top of the food chain anymore. A world where technology and magic had escalated like far beyond anything we understood or know. And it's a world where surviving your first adventure often depended on finding something that could survive a mega damage hit. Once you accepted that, the rest of Rifts kind of fell into place. And you knew it wasn't trying to be balanced. It was trying to make you feel small in a world that suddenly became enormous. And I think it succeeded. I don't know. What do you think? Was mega damage one of the best ideas ever put into a role-playing game? Or did it make Rifts more complicated than it needed to be? I'd love to hear your thoughts, so please tell me down in the comments. Every Tuesday we're going to explore another part of the Megaverse, one topic at a time. If you're looking for even more Rifts content, head over to railgunsanddragons.com. That's where you'll find articles, resources, and everything else I'm working on. So until next time, I'll see you somewhere out there in the Megaverse. Keep it original, keep it old school. Good night, and God bless everybody. You've been listening to Railguns and Dragons Reborn, a podcast about riffs. Head over to railgunsanddragons.com for more information.